Die-Hardman. John Blake McClane. A character who I'd argue is one of the most silly named characters in all of Death Stranding, and that's quite the bar to leap over. Welcome back to Road to Death Stranding 2, a series of short, stream of consciousness style, video essay-esque videos leading up, where I discuss various characters and themes of Death Stranding in the lead up to the release of Death Stranding 2. That'll be coming out later this month. Be sure to check out my Twitch channel on the day that the game comes out, because I'll hopefully be streaming it the day it comes out if I'm able to get my copy on time. Ooh, and we'll only start uploading videos of it a few days later. Yay! We've already discussed several characters, and today we're gonna talk about Die-Hardman, his incredibly written story, and my hopes and expectations of him in the sequel. Do note that I have yet to watch any trailers for the second game because I want to go in as blind as possible, so if any of what I say here gets contradicted by stuff in pre-release content for Death Stranding 2, I apologize. So, Die-Hardman, John Blake McClane. First off, I want to address the elephant in the room. God, that name. That name is so dumb. Die-Hardman, his name is of course a reference to the movie Die Hard, a movie Kojima loves, and even John McClane is the name of the main character from Die Hard. So yeah, I think he takes the cake for the worst named character in the game. In lore, he gets the name Die-Hardman because he would die hard, man. He served in the US military, I believe, prior to the Death Stranding. Prior to the Death Stranding. That's the only way that the timeline makes sense. He served in the US military, and kept on coming back alive again and again from the hardest of missions. Something that instead of attributing to his own skill, he attributed to the command of his commanding officer, Cliff Unger. But it is heavily implied that he is a very, very skilled military vet. But words. He is a very interesting character with, I think, overall, one of the most interesting stories in the game, mainly because it ties into the character who has the actually most interesting story in the game, but Die-Hardman served in the military and would eventually get promoted to work for Bridges under Bridget Strand. And take part in the Bridge Baby experiments. During this time, he would find himself falling in love with Bridget Strand, the President of the United States, wanting to do everything he could for her. Not just loving his country, but truly loving Bridget. But that love would eventually come to a head. The Bridge Baby experiments would begin experimenting with Clifford Unger's unborn child, lying to him to get him to agree to the experiments. Eventually, that lie would become too much for John to live with, because as much as he loved Bridget, he also had a deep love for Die-Hardman. Sorry, my brain's mixing. He also had a deep love for Cliff. And he could not choose between his loves. He tried to have it both ways, to give both of them the life they deserved. But in the end, Bridget made him kill the man he loved. The woman he loved made him kill the man he loved in a tragic and poetic moment. In the aftermath of this, he would take on the role as head of the Bridge experiments, and officially, John Blake McClane would die of suicide from regrets of his actions, but Die-Hardman would be born from the ashes, given a mask, put in charge of the BB experiments, and forced to make the decisions nobody else wanted to make for Bridget. He was made a puppet, forced to wear a mask, forced to serve the extinction entity. And he does that through the entirety of the game. and you really get the feeling that it weighs on him in certain moments in retrospect. Throughout the whole game, I was struggling to know how much I could trust him, trust his actions, trust him as a person, because so much of what he was doing seemed to not be well explained, and it was because it wasn't explained to him, because he didn't fully know what he was doing, and he was just following orders. But ultimately, he would try to make his own choice again. The first choice he chose to make since the death of Clifford, and it was to kill Amelie. To kill the one who made him kill the man he loved. To kill the woman he loved. To kill the extinction entity. He went to the beach, brought a gun with him, and was prepared to take her down, but in the end, he couldn't do it, especially after the spirit of Clifford was brought to him. This brought him to his knees, made him weep. And when we would see him again later in the end of the game, after his inauguration speech as new president of the UCA, he came to Sam. He expressed his regret, how he felt about what he did to Clifford, how horrible he felt about everything. But he expressed that he believed that Cliff forgave him. He didn't think he deserved forgiveness. He never wanted forgiveness. He felt that he deserved to die for all he had done, but he just wasn't ready to because he couldn't die. But seeing Cliff, having Cliff move on, he felt as if he was forgiven. As if what he did was let go. But Sam confirmed to him that that was not the case. That Clifford letting him go had nothing to do with forgiveness. That he still had to live with the burden of what he did. That old habits die hard. And the gun that he had used to kill Clifford had found its way back into Sam's hands. The very gun that initiated the Death Stranding. And Sam gave that gun back to him, throwing back the quote that we had heard previously from Amelie: "That gun won't help you here." Sam made it very clear that he didn't forgive Die-Hardman for what he did. See, a very important detail is that, something that we'll talk about more in upcoming videos, Sam is Clifford's kid. Something that we don't know during this confession from Die-Hardman, and I'm pretty sure Clifford knows that Sam is Cliff's, that John knows that Sam is Cliff's kid. And the reason he opens up to him in this ending scene is he desperately wants to hear from Sam that Sam forgives him for what happened. And Sam doesn't. And I've spoken with a few people, and a lot of people get mad at Sam for this, for not forgiving Die-Hardman for everything he's done. But I think Sam's right to not forgive him so easily. John did horrible things for his country, for his love for Amelie. And yes, he did not pull the trigger to kill John, and I do not... sorry, my brain keeps jumbling the names. He did not pull the trigger to kill Cliff. Like, I do not blame John for killing Cliff at all. Amelie killed Cliff. But John did serve the extinction entity. He did serve Amelie through and through as things got sketchy. And while ultimately he did do what he think was right in the end, he did go to kill Amelie. He did care for his country more than he cared for Amelie in the end. And he did everything he did with the best of intentions. The simple fact of the matter is he fucked up. Multiple times. He did so many things wrong. His actions, in many ways, led to the Death Stranding. Whether or not the Death Stranding was inevitable doesn't matter. He facilitated its escalation in so many ways. In in killing Clifford, or in trying to release Clifford, and then being there and aiding in his death, which again, I don't really blame him for killing Clifford, but his actions inadvertently led to Clifford's death in a lot of ways. And in continuing the BB experiments and helping the chiral network spread, in so many ways, he just kept working with the extinction entity again and again and again. He still needs to earn his forgiveness. And that is the role I think he needs to take in the sequel more than anything. He needs to continue to fight for forgiveness, to prove that he isn't just a gun, that he isn't a tool, to prove that he isn't a stick. John has a responsibility to prove that despite the fact that old habits die hard, that he won't. That he won't just carry on the message of violence that he carried as a soldier, that he won't carry on the message of violence that he did when he was there as Clifford died, that he won't carry on the message of violence he carried when he tried to kill Amelie. He needs to become the better man. That is what he needs to be in Death Stranding 2. And that is the character arc that he has yet to reach, that he needs to reach. I cannot wait to see how Death Stranding 2 makes John earn our forgiveness. Because he really needs to earn our forgiveness still, for all that he did to facilitate what happened to the world. Even if he was working with the best of intentions, he was a stick. He was a gun. He was a weapon. He needs to become a rope. And Sam has given him what he needs to do that. And he just needs to take advantage of that position. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Road to Death Stranding 2. Sorry again, these videos are so much shorter than the rest of my videos, but it is really needed to facilitate the bridging of the gap that is going on here. You know, these videos are just meant to fill in the window leading up to the sequel, and I cannot wait for Death Stranding 2 to come out and to begin playing it. In the next one of these videos, I plan to talk about... sorry, I'm just looking at my notes and all of the characters I've talked about and who I haven't. Yeah, Clifford Unger. Clifford Unger is the next character we are going to talk about. So, yeah. Man. I just love this game so much, and talking about it, and talking about Die-Hardman and Clifford and Sam and Amelie's story is like, it gets me a little emotional. I don't know if you've heard my voice wavering, but I'm really trying not to cry thinking about that astounding ending cutscene that the game had. There's a Death Stranding movie being developed, and there's a lot of directions it can go in, and I really do hope we get a lot more of the pre-Death Stranding world. And a lot more of Clifford Unger. And a lot more of John. But yeah, hope you've all enjoyed this one. Love you very, very much, and ta-ta for now.